put these numbers in order of size, starting with the smallest number first. So think about your number line. Furthest to the left on the number line is -5. So we're going to start with -5 and work our way back up the number line. -3, 4, 6 and 9. Change 430 centimetres into metres for question 2. Well, we know that 100 centimetres is the same as 1 metre. So to turn centimetres into metres, we're going to divide by 100. So 430 divided by 100 will give us our length in metres. That's 4.3. Change 0.3 to a fraction. Well, we should know that 0.1 is a tenth, so 0.3 will be 3/10. And 0.7 into a percentage, well, similarly 0.7 is 7/10, and 7/10 is 70%. Over the page, question 5. Okay, so we've got a picture of a stick split into 3 parts, A, B and C, and we've got to work out the length of the missing part here. So 30 centimetres in total. We're going to take away the 16 and the 9, and what's left will be the length of part C. So if we start by just adding together the lengths that we've already got, 16 plus 9, well, 16 plus 9 is 25 centimetres. Take that away from the 30 and what we've got left will be the length of part C. So 30 take away 25 is 5. So 2 marks. There we go. Question 6. Jessica thinks of a number. She multiplies the number by 3, subtracts 7 and her answer is 5. So to work out what number Jessica was thinking of, we're going to start with the number 5 and then work our way backwards through these operations. So the last one that she did was to subtract 5. We'll do the opposite of that and add 5. Subtract 7, we'll add 7. So that is 12. The first thing she did was to multiply by 3. So the last thing we're going to do is the opposite of that and divide by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So the number Jessica was thinking of is 4. Okay, here's question 7. So the total cost of 2 pens is 60p. In order to work out the cost of 5 of those pens, I'm going to work out what the cost of 1 pen is first. So I can do that by dividing the 60 by 2. That's 30. So 5 of those pens at 30 pence each. That's 150 pence. It asks us to give the answer in pounds, so we're going to change 150 pence into pounds. That's £1, 50p. Question 8. So we've got this dual bar chart here and we're asked to find the total number of cheese sandwiches sold. Well, on white bread there were 6, on brown bread there were 6. In total, 12 cheese sandwiches. More white bread sandwiches were sold than brown bread sandwiches. Work out how many more white bread sandwiches. So the first thing we're going to do is to add together how many white bread sandwiches there were. So we have 11 on ham, plus 11 on egg, plus 6 on cheese. That's 28. And then on brown bread we had 10 plus 3 plus 6. That's 19. So we just need the difference between those two numbers now, which is 9. So she sold 9 more white bread sandwiches. Okay, question 9. James takes a card at random. Which shape is most likely to be on the card? Well, the one that's most likely to be picked is the one that comes up the most. There are 5 squares, so the answer here is square. What's the probability that James take a card that has a square on it? Well, we're going to write that probability as a fraction. On the top is going to be how many of what we want. So we want to know how many squares there were. There were 5. On the bottom of that fraction is going to be how many options there were altogether, and that is 9. So my answer here is 5/9. You get 1 mark for the square and 2 marks for the answer 5/9. Question 10 at the bottom of the page there, we've got David is going to buy a cooker. The price is £320. He pays a deposit of £15 on the price of the cooker. How much money does David pay as a deposit? So here we just need to work out what 15% of £320 is. Now we don't have a calculator to do this, so I'm going to split the 15% into working out what 10% is, and then using that to help us find 5%. So to find 10% of something, you take the amount and divide it by 10. That's £32. For 5% then, well, I'm just going to take the 10% that we've got and halve it. 32 divided by 2 is 16. And then to get my 15%, I'm going to take the 32 and add it to the 16, which is 48. So £48. Okay, question 11. So some solving equations. So we're going to solve both of these equations just by undoing what's been done to the x. So x over here has had 3 added to it. We can find out what the value of x is by taking away 3 from the 12. 12 take away 3 is 9. So x is equal to 9. Over here y has been divided by 5. So what I'm going to do here is to do the opposite of that and times by 5. Now this is where a lot of people went wrong. They divided by 5, but you need to remember that it's always the opposite. The opposite of divide by 5 is to times by 5. And when we do that to 10, that gives us 50. So y is equal to 50. Question 12. Okay, so in this question we've got the menu from a cafe, and a meal is made up from a starter and a main course. And our first job is to list all of the different combinations, which have been started with us here with soup and then chicken. So I'm just going to continue the combinations here, starting off with soup. So we could have soup followed by fish, or we could have soup followed by omelette. I'm then going to repeat the main courses, but starting with melon. So we could have melon followed by chicken. We could have melon followed by fish. We could have melon followed by omelette. 6 options there altogether. 2 marks to get all 6. A meal is chosen at random. What's the probability that the meal will be melon and chicken? Okay, so just like before, we're going to start that with a fraction. We want to know how many of the options here were melon and chicken. Well, that's just 1, so 1 is going to go on the top. And on the bottom is going to be how many options there were altogether, and that's 6. So my answer to this question is 1 over 6. The cafe has fruit juice as another starter. Charlie says now there will be 1 more meal to choose from. Show that Charlie is wrong. Well, there isn't just 1 more meal. With another starter, that's another 3 possibilities. There could be a fruit juice and chicken. You could have fruit juice and fish. You could have fruit juice and omelette. So actually, there are 3 more. 3 more meals to choose from. I should point out that the answer here isn't that fruit juice isn't a starter. Number 13. So most people lost marks on this question because they didn't see this word, perimeter. The perimeter of the rectangle is the same as the perimeter of the square. That doesn't mean that we're going to do 2 times by 8, that means that we're looking at the distance around the outside of this shape. And because it's a rectangle, we know that the opposite sides will be equal. So where we've got an 8 here, we'll also have an 8 there, and where there's a 2 here, there'll also be a 2 there. So I can use that to work out the total perimeter of the rectangle. The perimeter of the rectangle, well, that's those 4 numbers added together. So 8 plus 2 plus 8 plus 2. Okay, so 8 plus 2 plus 8 plus 2, that's 20 centimetres. Now we're also told that the square has got the same perimeter, so the perimeter of the square then is also going to be 20 centimetres. But because it's a square, we know that all 4 of those sides are going to be the same. So we can find out the length of one side by splitting that perimeter into 4. So 20 divided by 4, that's 5 centimetres. Okay, on to question 14. Right, 8:45 PM as a 24-hour clock time. Okay, well, counting on from 12 o'clock, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 takes us to 8 o'clock. Add the minutes on the end, 20:45. Notice if you put PM on the end of here, you're going to lose the mark. It just needs to be 20:45. You don't need to say AM or PM in 24-hour time. So Sita did a puzzle in 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Neenal did the same puzzle in 7 minutes 28 seconds. Sita says, I did the puzzle in less than half the time that Neenal did the puzzle. Is Sita right? You must show your working. Okay, the way I'm going to do this is by taking Sita's time and doubling it to see if that is more or less than the time that Neenal took. So 3 minutes, 45 seconds. So I'm going to do this part in 2 separate parts. I'm going to double the 3 minutes, that is 6 minutes. I'm going to double the 45 seconds, now you can think of that as 90 seconds, or 1 minute 30. Now I can put those 2 times back together to get the total time. And I've gone off the screen, there we go. So the total time is 6 minutes plus 1 minute 30, which is 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So, Sita is not right. Question 15. 3/4 plus 1/8. So to add these 2 fractions together, we're going to need common denominators. The smallest one I can think of is 8. Now this one's already an 8, so the good news is we've only actually got to change that first fraction there. So 3/4 plus 1/8. Okay, so to change this fraction into something over 8, we're going to need to multiply the denominator there by 2. Keep the fraction equivalent and do the same to the top. 3 times by 2 is 6. We can leave the 1/8 as it is. That's already got 8 as a denominator. And then just add together the numerators to get 7 over 8. So my answer is 7/8. Okay, question 16. So to put these numbers in order of size, starting with the smallest first, we're going to need to convert them so that they all are the same form. There are 2 decimals already, so I'm going to change both of these into decimals as well. So 65% is the easy one, that's just 0.65. 2/3 is 0.6 recurring, So 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6 and so on. I'm just going to put that many for now. Working our way up from smallest to biggest, well the smallest out of all of those is going to be 0.6. So that can go first. My next smallest will be 0.606, that's this one here. Of the two that are left, this one is the next smallest, although I'm not going to put 0.65, I'm going to write down 65% on the answer line. And then that leaves us with the 2/3 to go last. Okay, 1 kilogram of cheese costs £5.60. Jane buys 200 grams of cheese. Okay, so the first thing I note here is that this is in kilograms and this is in grams. So I'm just going to start by just saying that 1 kilogram I know is equal to 1,000 grams. Okay, and then we're going to use one of our proportion grids. So we can say that 1,000 grams costs £5.60. And what we want is 200 grams. So we need to find a way to turn 1,000 into 200. Well, I can do that by dividing by 5. So to work out the cost of 200 grams, I'm going to do £5.60 divided by 5. I'm not entirely sure about that in my head, so we'll just do a little bus stop over here. So £5.60. So 5's into 5, that goes once, and there are none left over. 5's into 6 goes once. This time there is 1 left over, which will carry over to make 10. And then 5's into 10 goes twice. So 200 grams is worth 1.12 or £1.12. Question 18. Okay, so Mr. Brown and his 2 children are going to London by train. Notice that he's 2 children. A lot of people did this calculation with just 1. An adult ticket costs £24, a child ticket costs £12. We want to work out the total cost of the tickets using his family rail card, so we're going to need to include these discounts and those prices. So let's start with the adult ticket. Okay, so adult ticket. We want to take off 1/3 of the price. So to work out 1/3 of the price, I'm going to do 24 divided by 3, which is 8. Don't forget now to take that off the price. So 24 minus 8, the cost of the adult ticket is £16. Okay, similar process now for the child's ticket. Okay, so it costs £12 and we need to take 60% off. So my first job is to work out 60% of £12. Now I can do that by working out 10%. Now that's 12 divided by 10, which is £1.20. So 60% is going to be 6 times that much. 6 times by £1.20. 6 times by £1.20 is £7.20. So, in order to get the final price of the child ticket, we're going to do 12, take away £7.20. So, 12 take away £7.20. That is going to be £4.80. So we've got the final price of the adult ticket, the final price of the children's ticket. My last job is to work out the total cost. Don't forget, earlier we mentioned 2 children's tickets, so we're going to need to do 16 plus £4.80 plus a second £4.80. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 8 plus 8 is 16. We'll carry the 1. 6 plus 4 is 10. Plus 4 is 14. Plus 1 is the 5. And that takes us to... Oops. Carry the 1 over, add it to the one that we've got there. 2560, don't forget. carry down the decimal point 2. So final price, £25.60p. Question 19, just some straightforward multiplication here. Most people lost marks on this because they put an answer with no working out. I could only presume that they got that answer by using a calculator. I needed to see some methods for this. The method I'm going to use is the column method. Okay, so I'm going to start by doing 452 multiplied by 6. So 2 times by 6 is 12, carry the 1. 5 times by 6 is 30, add on the 1 that we've got takes us to 31, carry the 3 to here. 4 times by 6 is 24, plus the 3 that we had earlier on is 27. 2, 7, 1, 2. Now we're going to do 452 multiplied by 30. So let's start by adding the 0, and then we're going to multiply everything here by 3. So 3 times by 2 is 6, 3 times by 5 is 15, so the 5 in and carry a 1. 3 times by 4 is 12, plus the 1 that we carried over is 13. 1, 3, 5, 6, 0. Add those together to get my final total. 2 plus 0 is 2, 1 plus 6 is 7, 7 plus 5 is 12, carry the 1, 2 plus 3 plus 1 is 6, and the 1 left by itself is 1. Remember, this was 4.52. My answer is going to have a decimal place. In fact, it's going to have 2 decimal places. My pointer's going to go here, 162.72. Question 20. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals 3x plus 2 for the values of x from negative 2 to 2. Notice the space that they've given you here. This space is for you to be able to work out some coordinates so you know what you're going to plot on the graph down here. They've told you that your x values need to go from negative 2 to 2, so I'm just going to set myself up a bit of a table from negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and then 2. Now it's normally easier with something like this to do the positive numbers first. So we're going to take x as 2 first of all and substitute it in here to find out what the value of y is. So when x is 2, we need to do 3 times by 2 plus 2. 3 times by 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. Repeat the process now for 1. 3 times by 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 3 times by 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. Now it can get a little bit tricky when you start looking at some of the negative numbers here. Maybe by this point you've noticed that the numbers that I'm putting in here are just decreasing in 3s. So actually if I just take away 3 from here, that'll tell me that the next number is negative 1. And taking away 3 again takes me to negative 4. You can check if you like. 3 times by negative 2 is negative 6, and negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. Okay, so now we've got the information that we're going to use for the coordinates. Our next job is to draw some axes out. So I can see that my x-axis is going to have to go from negative 2 to 2. My y-axis I just need to make sure we'll go from negative 4 up to 8. So I'm just going to count here just to make sure that I definitely fit 8 in before I start drawing in my x-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to go from here just to give us a little bit of extra space. Okay, hopefully you can just about see that. Let's put the y-axis through the middle. Oh dear. That's better. Okay, so let's put some numbers on here then. So the x-axis has to go from negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, then 2. On the y-axis we said we needed to go up to 8 and down as far as -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay, so now we're just going to take each of these pairs of numbers in turn and plot them on the graph. So my first pair is 2 and 8. I'm going to go along to 2, up to 8, that's here. My next one is 1, 5, along to 1, up to 5, 0, 2, 0, and then 2. -1 and -1 is here, and -2, -4, -2, -4 is here. If you've done this right, what you'll find now is that you'll be able to join all of those points with a straight line. Okay, nearly there. I haven't yet got all 4 of the marks. The very last mark just comes from just making sure that you've labelled the axes. So this is the x-axis, this one is the y. Okay, next up, number 21. Okay, so we have a shape that we need to translate, and they've given us the vector here. Biggest place where people lost marks, they went in the wrong direction. The number on top tells us left or right, the number on the bottom is up or down. This is positive on the top, that means we're going to be going 5 to the right. This number on the bottom is negative, that means we're going to be moving 2 down. Okay, so I'm going to pick a corner on the shape, and I've chosen this one here. I'm going to move that point 5 to the right and then 2 down, and then I'm going to mark in where it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right, and then 1, 2 down. So here's the point. Now all I need to do is to draw in the rest of that shape. So just follow it round, that's 2 there. And then it comes 3 down. And along here, back up 1, across 1. And there we are. 22. So this time we're describing the transformation. So I can see from looking at the picture here that this shape has been rotated. Unfortunately, I've left my tracing paper at school. Luckily, in my kitchen at home we have some baking paper which I've managed to steal a bit of. So I'm going to use this for my tracing paper. Okay, so describe the single transformation that maps shape A onto shape B. Well, I've said already it's a rotation. Let's write that down. That's 1 mark straight away. The next job, we're going to find where the centre of rotation is. So I'm going to do that by tracing over my shape on my tracing paper. And then we're just going to experiment a little bit with a few different points just to see if we can, oops, I'll leave that there, if we can make it match up to where the shape is. Yeah, and it looks like I've got it here. So this point just here is the one that matches the shape to where it needs to be. So I need to write down the coordinates of this point here. Just be careful to make sure you get these the right way around. On the x-axis this is 0, on the y-axis it's 1. So my point is 0, 1. The last job then is just to say how much it's been turned. Well, if you're not sure, go back to your centre of rotation, just put a little arrow on it, and just watch what that arrow does when you turn the shape to where it needs to be. You see that arrow there? Turns through 180 degrees. So the last job is just to say this has been turned 180 degrees. Question 22. we've got some simplifying here. So the key with this question here is you'll notice there's only one mark, so there shouldn't be a lot of work to do. Just remember that when you square something, you're timesing it by itself. So on the top of this fraction here, what you've actually got is x plus 2 times by x plus 2. On the bottom, you've also got x plus 2. Timesing by x plus 2 and then dividing by x plus 2, well, that just cancels itself out. So all you're left with is just x plus 2. Some index laws here now then. So we've got 2a squared b times by 3a cubed b. So let's start with the whole numbers first. 2 times by 3. Well, these are just regular numbers being times by each other. So 2 times by 3, well, that's 6. What we've got then is, let's just write down what we've just done. 2 times 3 is 6. We've then got a squared times by a cubed. Well, this is where your index laws come in now. Multiplying powers, we're going to add those powers together to give us a to the power of 5. So we've got so far 6, a to the power of 5. And then what we've got here is b times by b. Well, in a similar way, it might help to think about this as being b to the power of 1. That's being b to the power of 1. That when you add them together, that gives us b squared. Let's pop that on the end to give us 6, a to the power of 5, b to the power of 2. Okay, question 23. Okay, so we're making some concrete mix. We need cement, sand and gravel in the ratio 1 to 3 to 5, and he wants to make 180 kilograms. And it says he's got this much. So the way I'm going to do this problem is by splitting the 180 kilograms into the ratio that we need, and then comparing those amounts to actually what he's got to see if he has enough. So my first job then is going to be to add together the parts of the ratio. So 1 plus 3 plus 5 is 9. If we then divide the 180 into those 9 parts, that will tell us how much one part is worth. 180 divided by 9 is 20. Okay, so for cement, he will need 1 times by 20, which is 20 kilograms. I can see here that he's got 15, so he has 15 kilograms, but he needs 20. This isn't enough. But let's just check the rest of the amounts anyway. So that was cement. Next up we've got sand. And for the sand we need up there 3 parts. So that's going to be 3 times by 20, which is 60 kilograms. And he's got 85 kilograms of sand, so he's got enough sand. And the last one is gravel. And he's got 5 parts gravel we need. So 5 times by 20, that's 100. And he's got 100, he's just got enough. So he has enough gravel. Oops. Okay, so just back to the question. Does Talil have enough cement, sand and gravel to make this concrete mix? Let's just finish off by saying no. He doesn't have enough cement. He doesn't have enough cement. Okay, question 24. The height h of a table is measured 72 centimetres correct to the nearest centimetre. So all we're going to do is show what the biggest and smallest that could have been before it was rounded. So the smallest that could be is 71.5 centimetres. The biggest that could be is 72.5 centimetres. You get a mark for each of those numbers. and then a blank page, and then question 25. So we've got some information about Bill, who's delivering parcels. There's a fixed charge plus £1 for each mile. Use the graph to find the total cost. Okay, so you can see here for every mile that it goes up, it's also increasing by £1. That's why the line slopes up like this. But you might also have noticed that if he does 0 miles, it doesn't start at £0, it starts at £10. That's the fixed cost, this amount here. So just put in £10 on the answer line there gets us the mark. Okay, now we've got some information about Ed. Ed uses a van to deliver parcels. For each parcel Ed delivers, it costs £1.50 per mile, and there is no fixed charge. And we're asked to compare the cost of having it delivered by Bill with the cost of it being delivered by Ed. Now the best way I can think of doing this is by plotting the information about Ed on the graph that we've got here, and then comparing the two lines, the one for, let's just label that as Bill, and the one for Ed that we're about to do. Okay, so I suppose we could start at 1 and put £1.50, and 2 up to 3, 3 up to £4.50, but that might get a bit fiddly. So I'm just going to take some of the easier numbers. Let's say at 10 miles, that'll be £1.50 times by 10. That's 15. So we're just going to put the cross in where £15 is. I can also do 20. At 20 miles, that would be £1.50 times by 20. That's 30. So there we go. And we're going to do one more just to check. That's 30 miles. £1.50 times by 30 is 45. So I'm just going to put that on the 45 just there. Okay, and then let's join up that line. And that one was for Ed. Okay, so you should be able to see now there's a point here where these two lines cross over. The person whose graph is lowest is going to be the cheapest, it's further down on the cost. So you'll notice that Ed starts lowest down here, so Ed is the cheapest here, and when they get to 20 miles, they both cost the same. After that, Ed is above Bill, so Ed is more expensive after 20 miles. So to compare the cost, we can say that up to 20 miles, it was Ed who was cheaper. At 20 miles, they both cost the same. Oops, there you go, that's what I've just written. And then everything after the 20 miles, Ed was more expensive, so Bill was cheaper. So over 20 miles, and it's Bill, is cheaper. Number 26. Okay, so we've got some information here. We want to find the class that contains the median. So the median is the halfway point. To get to the halfway point, you're going to take the total number of students, 60, to which you need to add 1, 61, and then divide by 2. That's 30 and a half. So we're looking for the group with the 30 and a half person in it. So if we now count our way through the frequencies here, this first group's only got 8 people in it, so that's not going to take us to number 30. Another 11, well that takes us up to 19, still not there yet. Another 9, that's 28, I better write this down so I don't forget, so we had 8 here, that took us to 19, another 9 on took us to 38, we're not here yet. Another 14 is going to take us to 42, well we're definitely past the halfway point now. So it's going to be this group that has got the median in it, 15 to 19. when it comes to plotting the frequency polygon underneath. So there's only really, I suppose, two things to remember here. The first thing is that you're going to be plotting in the middle of the group. So you want to go in between 0 and 4, in between 5 and 9. And then once you've plotted those points, we're going to join them up with a straight line. So my first group, between 0 and 4, the number in the middle there is 2. So I'm going to go along to 2, and I'm going to plot my frequency up to 8. So let's just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so along to 2, and then up to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's my first point. My next one, 5 to 9. So the number in the middle there is 7, and we need to go up to 11 now. So 1 to 7, 5, 6, 7, and this time up to 11, which is there. Next one, 10 to 14. So the number in the middle, 10 to 14, is 12, and this time we need to go up to 9. So here's 12, and up to 9. (15 to 19), the number in the middle is 17, and we need to go to a frequency of 14. So 17, and then up to 14, which is here. And my last one, 22 to 24, the number in the middle is 22, and a frequency of 18. Oops. So along to 22, and then 15, 16, 17, 18. So we're going to finish off my frequency polygon now by joining up those points with a straight line. There you go. Okay, 27. Okay, so we've got a box here with some orange juice in it. It's not full. It says that the depth of the orange juice is 8 centimetres. So that means that about up to here is where your orange juice is going to be. Jane closes the carton, turns it over so that it stands on the shaded face. So she's tipped this carton over. Work out the depth in centimetres of the orange juice now. Okay, well we know that the volume of the orange juice isn't going to change. So we're going to work out the volume of the orange juice and then use that to help us work out what the height of the orange juice is and when the shape's been flipped over. Okay, so if it starts with 8 centimetres here, the volume of the orange juice is going to be the area of the shape on the front, so 8 times by 6, and then multiply that by the length back, that's 10. So 8 times by 6 is 48. 48 times by 10 is 480. So we know that the volume of the orange juice is 480, oh sorry, there you go, 480 centimetres cubed. So now this box has been pushed forwards. So let's just see what we think that's going to look like now. Oh dear, there you go again. So the shaded bit is on the bottom now. So the 20 centimetres that's here has been flipped forward. That means that this distance here now is going to be 20 centimetres. The 10 centimetres that was touching the floor before, that's now been flipped upright. So now we've got 10 centimetres here. And the 6 centimetres, well that is now going to be this distance here, which is now at the front. So we've got 6 centimetres there. So we know that the volume of the orange juice is 480 and we want to work out what the height of the orange juice is now. Well, we know that the area of the base, so 6 times by 20, multiplied by whatever that height is, has got to be the same volume as it was before. It's got to be 480. We just need to work out what this is. Well, 6 times by 20 is 120. So 120 times by something to give us 480. That has to be 4. Number 28. Okay, Fulbeck, Gamby, Horton, 10 miles and 18 miles between them. Rakshaw is going to drive from one to the other, and then she's going to drive from there onto Horton. She leaves at 10 o'clock, so let's just make a note of that here. 10 o'clock. She drives at an average speed of 40 miles an hour. She wants to get there by 10:35. Work out the average speed that she must travel from Gamby to Horton. Okay, so we're going to start by working out how long it's going to take her to get to Gamby. Then we'll know how long she's got left in order to get there to Horton on time, and we can use those two numbers to work out the speed. Okay, so to work out the time, let's just go to our speed, distance, time triangle. So we've got speed, distance and time. So in this first section it's time that we want to work out, so it's going to be distance divided by speed that we want to do. Time equals distance divided by speed. So the distance is 10, the speed is 40, 10 divided by 40. Well, that might be a bit tricky in your heads, but I know that 10 divided by 40 would be the same as doing 1 divided by 4. And 1 divided by 4, a bit like a quarter, is 0.25. Now remember, this at the minute is in hours, because my speed is measured in miles per hour. To make this a little bit more useful, I'm going to turn this into minutes. 0.25, that's a quarter. A quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. So this first part of the journey is going to take her 15 minutes. So by the time she gets to Gamby, that's 10:15. Well, in order to get to Horton on time, that leaves her 20 minutes. Okay, so 20 minutes. Let's go back to the triangle again. This time we're going to want to work out what the speed is. So cover up the speed, and we're left with distance divided by time. So to work out speed now, we're going to do distance divided by time. Okay, so the distance we know is 18 miles, and we're going to divide it by the time, 20 minutes. Now what we've got at the minute is this in minutes, and the speed that we want to give is again going to be in miles per hour. So I'm going to change 20 minutes into a fraction of an hour. So just thinking about what 20 minutes on your clock looks like. Well, you can split 60 minutes into 3 lots of 20 minutes. So 20 minutes is the same as 1/3 of an hour. So the calculation we need to do here is 18 divided by 1/3. Well, to find out how many thirds fit into something, that's really just the same as saying 18 times by 3. And 18 times by 3 we can work out, that's 54. And that's the answer to the question. 54 miles an hour. And last but not least, number 29. Write down the value of 5 to the power of 0. We should know that anything to the power of 0 is always the same number, it's 1. 1 mark. Write down the value of 2 to the power of -1, while 2 to the power of -1 is just another way of writing 1/2. And 1/2, a half, we know is 0.5.